James P. Bradley and running for United States Congress in District 33, California.
Okay. Have you worked in public service before?
Well, I worked in the United States Coast Guard under Ronald Reagan. Will qualify that. I also ran against Dianne Feinstein last election in 2018. And out of 32 candidates, I came in third overall, the top Republican in the primary.
Now, this is a congressional seat that's in a district which is, what's the registered voter breakdown?
Well, we use the PVI index, and the PVI is a plus 16 Democrat. That's as of the last reporting period. But the last primary brought it from plus 16 down to plus 10, which means a striking distance for us Republicans.
Now, Ilan Carr ran for this before in the last election. How will your strategy be different given Ted Lieu's incumbency?
Well, Ilan ran 3 cycles back, and the one between Ilan and myself was Dr. Ken Wright. I'm more of a nonpartisan, go down the center and try to create unity as opposed to playing the party line, albeit that I am a conservative Republican, but with kind of innovative ideas. I worked in the healthcare industry for 30 years, so I have a lot of good ideas and suggestions that we'll bring into this particular role.
What's your sense of the way that Ted Lieu, Adam Schiff, Brad Sherman, also area Democrats participated in the impeachment, knowing that what they were putting forth was a falsehood?
Well, that to me is a violation of their oath of office, for one. Two, you have to base any no allegation. It has to be with clear evidence. And they had no evidence. In fact, they made up evidence. So when you're actually playing that raid, it becomes rather convoluted, and it's a violation of their office and their duties.
With that display of unethicality, what do you suppose would hold for the general public, especially the constituents, knowing that essentially that they got away with a crime this time, and now that the party has been drawn left, what would it mean for constituents in any Democrat district?
Well, hopefully they're finally getting the picture. Truly, what's happening is they're playing on our dollar, more importantly, their confidence in running on a particular party. As you remember, back in the Kennedy days, it was the Democrat of the people, for the people. Now it's not for the people. I think the constituents are finally waking up and realizing that it's really lining their pockets. They're professional politicians.
Yeah. What's your sense of the this lockdown, the impoverishment that they've created in blue states, and the agenda towards neo-socialism?
Well, we are a constitutional republic. We are not founded on socialism, Marxism, or communism, so I'm a firm believer in our constitutional rights. As you've seen in a lot of the blue states, they have gone down the socialist path, and you can see the mass unemployment, the unchecked crime. You've seen what's happening in Washington currently, where they've actually sanctioned off a part of the, I believe it's part of the Capitol, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the socialist blue states, you can see that's the highest crime rate, highest tax base, and many of the constituents are fleeing those parts of the world and going into more, I think, Republican conservative areas like Arizona, and that would be Texas as well, and Tennessee.
Has the concept of socialism, you think, been whitewashed with the idea of social media and social distancing?
Yes, absolutely. They've actually they've changed the all I always say is go to Venezuela, you'll see what a true sense of socialism is. But they actually relabeled it and hijacked a lot of the terms that we use in the conservative movement. I'd say conservative, innovative movement, because that's what I represent. They've literally sold a bill of goods through the narrative that's not true to this day. You can see what's happening in Chicago and a few other blue states. Yeah.
You ran against Senator Dianne Feinstein, and she had a known, long-time chauffeur from China, and the Democrat Party, especially Vice President Joe Biden, his family got a lot of money from China. And now we're starting to see, obviously, with the Wuhan virus and the marches through the streets to promote philo-communism or a sympathy towards socialism and turning on your neighbors. What's going on with the Democrat Party and Chinese influence that voters ought to be concerned about?
Well, in the state of California, some call it Communist California, simply because there's a lot of Chinese investment in owned portions. They've actually owned a large portion of Hollywood, also up and down the state, a lot of real estate holdings. But anyone that's a Chinese nationalist usually has a connection with the Communist Chinese Party. The Wuhan virus, or the COVID-19, so aptly known by President Trump, the China virus, I think that was well stated. And quite honestly, that's what we're seeing today. You see it permeating through our legislation, and quite a few of the incumbents and career politicians have vested interest in a lot of Chinese type companies. So when you just follow the money, which I always say, please be smart about this, follow the money, and you start seeing the names come up quite often. You start asking those questions and find out who is truly behind it. So if you do business in China, you're usually doing business with the Chinese Communist Party. Now, Dianne Feinstein, she had her driver, that's been for 20 plus years, I believe, was her driver. And she's connected to other incidents throughout what had Chinese Communist ties. So we're seeing that, and I believe also Richard Blum, which is her husband, they have a business interest in China. So it's really right before us. They just kind of label it differently so they get away with what they've gotten away with all these years.
Yeah. Some people have a suspicion that China is backing the Democrat campaign.
They are. Yeah. Again, follow the money. You look at Act Blue, you can start seeing who's being. When you look at PAC money, there's a lot of dark money there. It's hard to really pierce the veil to find out truly who's behind that. But you look at the corporations that have invested or contributed to PAC Blue, and PAC Blue also contributes to those Democrats within California. It becomes very clear that the Chinese Party is somewhat involved. Yes.
How can people find out more about your campaign?
Oh, thank you. You can go to bradleycongress.com, bradleycongress.com. You'll get a chance to see what the issues are, where I stand, my background, serving in the military, the United States Coast Guard, and also in healthcare for 30 years. So we have answers, solutions, and we'll do this together. I'm not the typical politician, and in most cases, I don't like to call myself a politician. I'm a real guy that worked hard all my life, and I think it's about time that we start putting party politics behind us and work together. Thank you.